Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Excel Center in London, where we're covering the DSEI trade show, world's largest exhibition of air, land, sea, space, and cyber systems, as well as security systems. Our coverage here is in partnership with DSEI and Clarion Events, and we've got with us Peter Hardisty, who is the Managing Director of Rheinmetall Defense UK. Sir, thanks very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, thank you.
At a time when most people are having drinks, so we appreciate you joining us. So I want to start, you guys have an incredible display here. There aren't any other main battle tanks that are sitting here, and there are certainly no other as subtly painted vehicle here as you have here with the Boxer. And also, I don't think any other stand needed structural reinforcement in the basement to make a reality. But in all seriousness, I want to talk a little bit about what you have on display and how it matches up with some of the British Army's modernization priorities that are going on right now. British Army interested in an eight-wheeled armored fighting vehicle. There is a tank upgrade that has to happen in the UK, and there's also a vehicular upgrade. Let's start with the Boxer, because there are some who might question British by birth, but you say that's a totally accurate statement in order to make.
Absolutely. Boxer was a product of a three-nation program, originally the French, the Germans, and the British. The French left and the Dutch joined, but the British left in 2003, only after the design development of the vehicle had taken place, and in particular, reliability growth programs, which was a British requirement. Since then, the Brits have tried various other projects, but there is a requirement today for an eight-wheeled armoured vehicle, and the reason the vehicle behind me is painted as it is to demonstrate two things. Firstly, it's got British DNA. We were involved at the outset, we were involved in the requirement specification and ensuring its reliability achieved what it now can demonstrate. And secondly, it's to ensure that everybody in the defence community is aware that we are ready, willing and determined to run the race, whatever the requirement for a mechanised infantry vehicle is.
And what's your case why this is the superior solution as Britain's future armoured fighting vehicle?
I think three things, really. It's available very, very quickly because the production lines and the supply chain are hot, and the German army and the Lithuanian army have all ordered vehicles in the very recent past. So item one, very quick to deliver as and when the customer decides what they want. Secondly, it offers almost unparalleled levels of protection, and I think that's particularly important today and going forward. The 30 years a vehicle like this will be in service. And secondly, it offers almost unparalleled growth potential, both in payload and electrical and electronic power systems.
The tank behind us is one of the world's great tanks right now in operational service. You could say that there are four that fall into that category. One of them is the M1 tank in the United States. The Leopard is the other one, legendary and in service with more countries probably than any other Soviet-produced tank. You have the Merkava, obviously very Israeli and uniquely suited to that requirement, and then you have the Challenger. British Army has sort of shelved some of its tank force over the past decade and a half, in part because of the focus of operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. But now, Sir Nick Carter has a drive to get that tank capability back. There are some tanks now that are in the Baltics. Talk to us about why you brought this tank and what it's showcasing in terms of what the British program is that you guys are competing for.
I think there's two things we should say. Firstly, it's an international defence show and we upgrade tanks, so it's here because that's what we do. In the context of the UK program, we, alongside BAE Systems, were down-selected after competition for the Challenger 2 Life Extension Project. And so we're one of two companies working on a project now. It's a 2-year program, started in January, to address a range of obsolescence issues in the current Challenger 2 vehicle. For the vehicle next to me, it showcases a number of electronic, sight, fire control, computer type systems that we propose to introduce into the Challenger 2 system.
And what are some of the key advantages you guys feel you have over BAE Systems?
I think we have got a pedigree in upgrading tanks, more so than perhaps BAE Systems have. We're doing it for a number of customers around the world. We also are able to offer opportunities such as new ammunition or ordnance systems. So our opportunity is, we think, to offer a proper spiral development and growth path for the Challenger 2 tank.
And let's talk about the vehicle, because most people have a tendency of thinking about Rheinmetall Borsig historically, but Rheinmetall in terms of the gun capability and ammunition, but not necessarily on vehicles, which of course is something new and different that you're inheriting.
Well, no, not really, because in Germany, for example, on the Leopard 2, we work hand in hand with Krauss-Maffei, We produce a lot of the fire control systems, a lot of the surveillance and target acquisition systems, and of course the ordnance and the ammunition.
Right.
So it would be wrong to say that we are not involved in vehicles, and more particularly our pedigree and upgrading I think is appropriate to the Challenger 2 program.
Completely agreed on that, but I was just thinking that normally when people think about Rheinmetall, they don't think about big trucks.
Trucks. Well,
so let's talk about the big truck angle that you guys are inheriting.
So absolutely, there is a Rheinmetall company called Rheinmetall Man Military Vehicles. It's a joint venture company with MAN and Rheinmetall. It's been in existence since 2010. In the UK, there is a fleet of about 7,000 MAN trucks. As part of that novation and growth, that contract we hope to novate from Man Truck and Bus UK to RMMV, Rheinmetall Man Military Vehicles, and our proposal is that that takes place with effect 1st of January next year. And that will allow us to bring forward a number of updates should the customer require them, and my expectation is that we improve the supply chain of spares and subsystems and redesign work to reflect current changes in whether it be legislation or operational requirements.
Let me ask you a little bit about the budgetary scene. UK is on a very, very ambitious modernization track, transformational track. You could argue, and certainly Brigadier Ben Barry of IISS has made the case that what Nick Carter is trying to do is almost an unprecedented sort of step change shift for the British Army to regain that divisional capability by 2025. Large number of armored programs, vehicle programs to set the Army up for the future. But the big challenge is the budget. Each one of the service chiefs, whether, including Gordon Messenger, but also the Defense Secretary himself, Sir Michael Fallon, has said there are going to be very, very hard choices that will be made by the Cabinet Office. As somebody who is in industry, does that give you pause? Are you concerned? Does it impede your thirst for investment, for example, if some of these programs could be vulnerable?
I think it means that we have to be economically cautious, we have to be realistic, we have to look at programs properly, do our own value assessment and business cases properly, but the customer has aspirations. It's a big defense spending country with real capability that they've demonstrated many times in recent history. So this is a real market for us. It's one of our top 4 markets. No, it's a problem, but it's just business.
Sir, thanks so much for taking time with us. We really appreciate it, and you guys do have one of the most impressive displays here at the show. Thanks very much for spending time with us.
Thank you very much indeed for your time.